Psalm 122 verses 1 to 9. Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord. I rejoiced because they said to me, We will go up to the house of the Lord, and now we have set foot within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem, built as a city with compact unity. To it the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, according to the decree for Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. In it are set up judgment seats, seats for the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. May peace be within your walls, prosperity in your buildings. Because of my brothers and friends, I will say, Peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord, our God, I will pray for your good. Psalms 120 to 134 are called the Songs of the Ascents, because they were sung by pilgrims on their way up to Jerusalem. You will recall Jerusalem is on a mountain top, so as pilgrims left the Jericho's river valley, and began their 3,800-foot climb to the holy city, along the way they would recite these psalms. Jerusalem's city walls give the impression of strength. Once you are there, you feel like a real member of the people of God, if you observe the Lord's decrees. Deuteronomy 12 verses 5 to 7 speaks about the temple which unifies the people of God, in one location. Instead, you shall resort to the place which the Lord, your God, chooses out of all your tribes and designates as his dwelling. And there you shall bring your holocausts and sacrifices, your tithes and personal contributions, your votive and freewill offerings, and the firstlings of your herds and flocks. There, too, before the Lord your God, you and your families shall eat and make merry over all your undertakings, because the Lord your God has blessed you. Deuteronomy chapter 16 verses 16 to 17. 3 times a year, then, every male among you shall appear before the Lord your God, in the place which he chooses, at the feast of unleavened bread, at the feast of weeks, and at the feast of booths. No one shall appear before the Lord empty-handed, but each of you with as much as he can give, in proportion to the blessings which the Lord, your God, has bestowed on you. The Church uses this psalm on the first Sunday of Advent, to emphasize Christian unity, and the centrality of the Church in the life of Christians, as we await the second coming of Christ, and the establishment of a kingdom of justice and peace. I recall my first pilgrimage to Bosnia. War had ended, but a rekindling of the war was still on the horizon, as evidenced by the presence of I-Force personnel and equipment. The closer we came to our destination, the easier it was to focus on our goal, and war, or threat of war, were no longer a concern or focus of our thinking. We were on our way to visit a holy place of God. If God wants to take you in the streets of your hometown, he will. If he wants to take you in Bosnia, he will. Why worry? God is in control, you aren't. The Jewish pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem held the same joyful attitude and focus as they sung Psalms of the Ascent. Again, in the south of Ireland, I saw many people publicly praying the Rosary on their way to work in the morning, which showed to their observers the importance of Catholicism to these individuals, practicing this public display of worship. As the Jewish pilgrims made their climb to Jerusalem, other travelers, merchants, soldiers, and foreigners must have heard them praying. Their example of devotion might have led others to God. We don't know, but it is possible. Are we like these pilgrims? As we approach Sunday Mass, have we looked at the readings before Mass? Are we thrilled by the opportunity to worship God in God's house and in public? But the hour is coming, and is now here, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, and indeed the Father seeks such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth.